Carter, thank you for joining us, man. Yeah, so we met in 2021 when you showed up on my bike race and won by a considerable margin. That's how I met you. So I think I actually heard of you from Troy Messengers in Crow's Nest Pass. So when he won our 2019 race, and then I was talking to him prior to the 2021 race, and I was talking about him defending his title. He's like, "Oh no, Carter from Fernie's coming." He's like, "I think he's going to win it." But Troy's really humble, so I thought he was kind of soft playing it a little bit. But sure enough, there you. That was the first time I heard of you, and there you were, and you crushed it. So you've been doing a lot of epic stuff too. So stoked to have you join. Also, I know that Tyler loves talking to young bike racers and trying to impart with them too. So I thought it'd be a super fun chat.
Yeah, well, I'm stoked. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Carter. So tell me about Pete's race. How'd you find out about it?
Kind of through word of mouth, basically. Sure. A lot of buddies from Fernie went and did it in its first year, 2019. And they kind of told me about it, including Coffee Troy. And yeah, so I mean, like really in like Eastern BC, well, I guess all of Western Canada, there wasn't really any events going on in 2021. It was pretty quiet with COVID restrictions. And yeah, fortunately, Pete's race took off, and it was one of the only races I was able to attend that year, basically. So couldn't really get down to the States, and yeah, nothing much happening in Canada.
Yeah.
And word on the street is it's pretty hard.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's a proper 100-kilometer mountain bike race. I did a few like 100-mile races in the States this year, and it does not compare to that. Like, yeah, distance-wise, you're going farther, but just in terms of like, I mean, you're partially at altitude, and then you have like one big gravel climb, and then two really strong mountain bike climbs, followed by like proper mountain bike descents, versus like, 100 miles of double track, and you're kind of just like, it's basically like a gravel race. Average speeds are high, so yeah, no, this is like a proper 100-kilometer race. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's a different thing. Like I'm actually really intrigued by those long 100+ mile mountain bike races that are a little more on the gravel side, but it would have been an injustice to the Crow's Nest Pass area to design the race that way, because the mountain biking trails are first class, right? So that's why we did it that way. But speaking of gravel racing, so Carter's not only so we can go two different directions here. We can go the event director route, and we can go the pro bike racer route, because you do both. But you are also growing what is currently a small but quickly growing gravel event series too. So you can tell us a little about that, and then we can do a deep dive into your young career.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so it started off with the Fernie Gravel Grind. That started in kind of same time as Pete's race, around 2020, and then COVID came, and it was supposed to just be like a small virtual fundraiser event for the Fernie Trails Alliance. And yeah, COVID happened, shut things down, shifted to a virtual event, which was basically me giving people of 12 routes varying in distance and difficulty. And people love that. You made a donation and you got like a coffee and a beer, and then these routes to kind of go out and discover for yourself. So that was 2020, and that went really well. And then that kind of encouraged me to create the in-person Fernie Gravel Grind in 2021. We made it through the pandemic that year, and this year it was like the first real gravel grind that, I mean, last year it was a 100-person event, and then this year it grew to a 300-person festival basically throughout the last weekend of June. Yeah, it's kind of like based on the events I've gone to, I've tried to pick a lot of like the awesome parts of every other event, whether that's a gravel or mountain bike event, and put it into the Fernie event. So we have like a Friday industry night where there's bands playing and beer gardens and, sponsors from across the industry. And then the Saturday morning race, we have 3 different distances. Saturday night, there's a big party. And then Sunday, we have a Sunday social group ride and kind of like a shakeout. So it's a whole weekend, and it gets the entire community involved as well, which is a big part of it. And then, so from Fernie, we created the Cranbrook gravel grind, which we pulled off this past fall, 2 months ago. And then next year, we're going to do both Fernie and Cranbrook, but now we're also looking at adding a third event somewhere west of that. So not going to lie, I was kind of planning my trip around Victoria to scope some routes and see what was out here. I've spent, 7 years out here. I went to school here starting in 2015 at UVic, and I kind of chose UVic just so I could train year round, as unlike the rest of Canada, there's no snow or not much snow. So pretty familiar with the area and trying to make something happen out here.
Good for you. Good for you. So you just kind of went out on a limb and did this all on your own, or you had some help with some buddies? Or?
There's been a lot of help throughout buddies and sponsors and the whole community. I mean, it's been pretty special to see people rally around it and believe in it. I have a good buddy, David Benison. He's a core organizer of, I guess you can call it the series now. His wife, Katie, is a huge supporter. I have like 2 of my best friends that are helping out. They helped do a lot of the heavy work in 2021, getting the first in-person event off the ground. So there's a lot of core people, but there's a lot of people on the peripheral that have helped out one way or another. And as corny as it is, you wouldn't be where you are without the community and everyone rallying behind it. So
yeah, what's the Fernie community like? I've driven through there, ridden through there. I always stop in. It seems like a really neat place. Yeah.
It's an awesome spot, and I mean, I'm biased because I'm born and raised, but
sure.
It's a very genuine mountain town. I feel like compared to a lot of other towns that are really like they've almost exceeded the tipping point of tourism. Fernie is still ramping up with tourism, and it's awesome to see, but it's not almost to the point where it's changing the vibe. It's still a very friendly, genuine mountain town, and everyone knows everyone, and everyone's super friendly. So it's awesome. And I mean, there's really good gravel biking, but it's definitely in the shadows of the world-class mountain bike trails that we have there, which is fair. But things are definitely changing. I mean, you can all the shops are carrying gravel bikes now. The tourism board's kind of changing their dialogue in terms of what there is for biking, which is cool to see. So, yeah.
Awesome. And that's where the Great Divide Mountain Bike Route goes right through Fernie, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Every year they had a crazy year this year where pretty much all the riders had to stay in Fernie because we got 3 feet of snow mid-June. So
yeah, I heard the search and rescue was not too pleased.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I was out the day before the snow came, and there's guys going into the Flathead Valley, which if you're familiar with that, it's pretty out there. And I'm like, I don't know if you want to be going this way just yet. You might want to turn around and wait. And these guys are from I think they're from Texas or somewhere in the southern states, and they're like, oh no, it's fine. How bad can it get? I'm like, well,
yeah.
I guess they found out.
Yeah, I heard it was ugly, but luckily everyone came out of it unscathed, or relatively unscathed.
Relatively.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does worry me every June though. That first bit of the race, I always wonder if there's going to be, a more serious incident than that. It seems like something that people laugh off, but it could go either way up over those passes for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of up over Elk, it's scary. So, but Tyler, you've ridden that exact route, right? Right through Fernie all the way to Canmore. Or other way. You rode it.
I went the other way. You come into what's that town before Fernie?
Sparwood.
The big truck.
Yep. Sparwood.
Yeah, Sparwood.
Sparwood. Yeah. Then you take then you head east, and then you go down that valley. I think it's the Flathead Valley. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Grizzly Bear Corridor.
Yeah.
Or something like that, or highway. Yeah. So how did you find the bike? I'd love to hear kind of how you found the bike and how this all started.
Just in terms of the event. I mean, I was out in.
Or just as a kid, how'd you find? How'd that all just start?
just biking in general. Yeah. I mean, yeah, born and raised in Fernie, so it'd be like rude not to pick up and bike and ride the trails. But I didn't really get into bike racing until the end of high school, where I was kind of using it for cross training for ski racing and hockey. And then I had some bad concussions with hockey, and there's like a 3-day stage race coming through town, and kind of like use that as a goal, because at that point, hockey was totally done, and that was at the time that was my identity, and so it's kind of a little lost. And being able to set a goal and just put your mind around it was really, really good for me, I think. And then did that race, and I like cramped and crashed and was freezing cold because it was raining the whole time. But that was opening up a can of worms, and from there I just kind of made all these decisions based on biking. So end of high school, I was like, well, like, heard Victoria doesn't snow, and I heard there's good biking there, so maybe I'll go to school there instead of going to Calgary or Kelowna or whatever. And so kind of really got into it once I moved out to Victoria, and got in with a really good group of riders, met some really good friends and coaches, and just kind of spiraled from there. But
spiral, good word.
And you had the mountain bike bug from the beginning?
Yeah, totally. Like, my dad introduced me to it when I was super young. Like, still have the memories of him like pulling me up the swine flu or hypervent, one of like the classic climbs, and I'd be crying because what kid wants to be going up a big mountain bike climb. But definitely came around to it. And I mean, even now, like, just seeing the amount of young kids in Fernie, and I guess in like most mountain towns now, like the amount of young kids getting into biking. And I guess like now there's so much, like, the industry's behind it, where you're not on some super crazy clunker bike. And it's just it's cool to see. But it's kind of how I got into it. And maybe not like most racers, but stoked to be here.
When did you feel like you were at a crossroads where you didn't need to, like, or did you ever feel like you hit a crossroads where you're like, I need to push all my chips into this right now and see where it goes?
I feel like I'm like all or nothing kind of guy. So the moment I did that first race and was hooked on it, I was like, okay, like, I'm all in. How do I keep getting better at this and see where it goes? So it was pretty early on, like probably, I think it was like grade 11.
And you thought it could be a career in grade 11?
Maybe not at that point, but I wanted to get to a high level, and I was, there's a lot of pro mountain bikers around me at the time, and just kind of seeing them competing at that level was really cool to see and really motivating. So definitely aspired to be something like that. Totally.
So like, what are some of your goals for the future?
So for next year, 2023, big goal of mine is to win BC bike race. I came really close to it this year with second place.
Incredible.
So that's a big one. And it should be a lot of fun. Like, all the same guys are going back. Super good crew that went this year. It was so much fun. Like, the top 10 were all like epic racers and kind of like new and old. And had a blast, but it was also really intense. BC bike race, marathon national champs is definitely on the radar. That's a big one for me. There's a Belgian waffle ride coming to Cowichan, so that's basically in my backyard. Would love to do well in that, and a few other ones like Moab Rocks and the Trans Rockies, which will be going through Fernie again. So pretty full calendar, but mostly revolving around mountain bike racing in like stage or marathon format. So a few gravel races.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on like coming down and doing like Unbound or something like that?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I think Leadville is more up there for me versus Unbound. I think like 12, 13 hours of just like slogging away through farmers fields isn't the most appealing, but if I had an entry, I definitely wouldn't say no. I feel like that's more of like a bucket list experience, and kind of got to check it off the list. So yeah, I'd definitely love to do that. I'd like to do Downeyville. That's an awesome one. Did Breck Epic a couple of years ago. Would love to come back and do that. Yeah. So, but again, like with events going on, both from a racing and organizing standpoint, I kind of got to pick and choose at this point. So trying to be pretty strategic with the calendar next year in terms of, well, I guess the main thing is burnout. And just trying to stay afloat.
Yeah, well, physical and mental, because event planning, I can attest to, and I mean, I'm small time, right, compared to people who do this like full time. Mine's a passion project, but like, dude, it's stressful. Like, you know all about it. It's a lot come down to the wire, permits, land usage, just community considerations, wildlife interactions. Like, you can get, like, there's so many things that can go wrong, right? And that sounds negative, but it's just true, and it's really stressful. So then you're going to times it by 3, and then you're going to times it by all of the racing that you do. So it's, I guess that leads to the question that I actually had written down is like, how are you finding balancing all of that? Because you're an entrepreneur, you're an event director, which are not the same job, right? They're different jobs, but you're doing both, and a bike racer.
Yeah, I'm making it work as of right now. But yeah, I think like kind of goes back to just support. I mean, I have a lot of people around me. Like obviously my parents have been huge. Like being able to go back home to Fernie and get their support every summer, both financially and, you know, time wise, it's made such a difference. And there's no way I could have been able to do this without their support. So obviously, like, yeah, they're number one. And yeah, just like having the right crew around you, like very motivating friends. Some of my closest buddies that I went to school with were, you know, my number one competitors, even to this today. So yeah, just having like really good people around you, I find is like the best way to help you stay on top of things and motivated and keep yourself in track, and then having buddies to keep you on track as well. So yeah, then just in terms of like the event side of things, co-organizer David is fantastic. Like he's so keen and keeps me in a straight line. So yeah, it's kind of like a team effort for sure. So yeah.
Awesome. Good for you. Do you have some sponsors that you work with?
Yeah. So I'm sponsored by Santa Cruz.
Nice.
They're my bike sponsor. Shimano, 7 Mesh, Hornby Organics. You know, then I just have like local sponsors like Straight Line back home and Beanpod. Yeah, those are the big sponsors, and they've been awesome. Super fortunate to have them, especially now with how the industry's going, and a lot of guys are being left high and dry with sponsorships. So
sure.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome to know that I have these companies backing me, and yeah, eliminates a bit of stress for sure.
So would you consider yourself a privateer? Have you always been one before that was even a word?
Yeah, basically I'd consider myself a privateer for sure. Not really part of any team. I mean, Santa Cruz has the hit squad in the States, but it's an American based team. So I'm just, privateer life up here in Canada. Yeah, for sure.
So Crossroads though, like I find that part interesting. Like when Tyler was your age, there was really like you chased the world tour contract, and that was the goal. It's changed completely. Like have team opportunities come up? How do you make choices there? It's got to be hard.
Yeah, I think like maybe with road, it's a bit more of a direct path. Because I have a lot of buddies who race road, and they're doing that same path, you know, trying to get to a world tour team basically. And you know, like going to Europe and trying to make a name for yourself there and get on a team there. But I think mountain biking, it's a little different because there's so many like subcategories of mountain biking, whether it's, you know, the Olympic format or stage or, you know, the ultra endurance, whatever. So yeah, it's a bit more niche, and sponsors kind of I guess go about things differently than they would with, you know, either a professional road team or a professional Olympic format team. Kind of like Norco, but I guess Norco's no longer as of 2023. But Then like Canada alone, there's not much support for a team, I'd say. There is the Norco team, and a few teams out east that had a few people going to World Cups and supporting them, but other than that, there's not much. So it almost makes more sense to be a privateer, and work with sponsors one-on-one versus trying to rely on a team to get you that sponsorship.
Yeah, like in my layman's view of it, it seems like it's got a lot of advantages from a career longevity standpoint too, because if you gain an audience and like you have your own like core true fans, you don't need to be like obliterating every race that you enter anymore, right? You can like move into a different stage of your career where it's more about community and storytelling and things like that, and still perform, but you don't need to can't be on the top step in your 50s all the time. Like there's the odd guy still doing that, but like you can have a really, really long career, I think, as a privateer with your events and kind of grow it organically as,
Totally.
Where you're going is sort of a hub, right?
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I definitely look at that. And I mean, I think I'm almost 26 in January. So I kind of look at the next like 5 years of like prime racing. And then it's like, well, like what do I want to do after that? And I mean, like, do I keep going on with the event side of things? Like maybe. But I think, yeah, I've definitely created like a few fallback options. In the event I come to the end of the road of racing, or I get injured, or whatever. So yeah.
Smart.
Well, putting on these gravel races must be exciting, because the gravel has just taken off over the last 3-5 years. It's insane. So
yeah, it's been really cool to see. Like I got into gravel racing, or not even gravel racing, but just gravel riding.
And they used to call it gravel grinding, right? Remember back in the day?
Yeah, gravel grinding on your, I guess like back in the day, people were either on their like 25C road bikes or their, squishy mountain bikes. So yeah, like I got into gravel biking, or I kind of found gravel biking in Fernie just because my coach is pretty traditional, where he likes the long road miles and high volume. So, I'd come home for the summer, and if I wanted to do a road ride, it's just on the highway. And going down Highway 3 is kind of sketchy with all the truck traffic and whatnot. So I would end up just riding my mountain bike out on these logging roads. And that's kind of how I discovered it. And I don't know, at the time I was just calling them road rides. And then as the industry kind of like created this category, things started to change. And now I have a gravel bike and all this. But yeah, it's obviously coming in full circle. I mean, like my next gravel bike is going to have, a dropper post and maybe a bit of suspension. So I feel like in 2-3 years, I'm just going to have a hardtail. So,
yeah. Well, I'm going to get this wrong, but Tyler, you might remember this. Which pro won a classic on when they had a dropper post on their road bike?
It was Milan San Remo this year.
Yeah.
Morik or something.
Mate Mahoric. That's
yeah.
So like and he won it because of the descending, because of the dropper post, or road bike in a road race. So like bike tech there's never been a more exciting time for bike tech. And sometimes you can get into like marketing and it's like, man, is that basically the same bike I just had? But some things are pretty smart, like a dropper post on a road bike. Definitely.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine how it is. I'm pretty excited to scope it out. Yeah.
Good for you. Well, it's been a treat to have you on. Hey, I couldn't pronounce how do you pronounce your last name?
Nieuwesteeg.
Okay.
Yeah, like Nieuwesteeg.
Nieuwesteeg. Okay,
bit of a challenge.
It's a cool name. Where's that from?
It's Dutch.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. You got cycling in your genes.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally, that's awesome. Yeah, dude, thanks for doing this. I wanted to catch up with you and introduce you to Tyler. And if you're
appreciate it.
And hey, in Montana, really quick, because we talked about it last year, but I don't know if you went, or this year. Did you go to Last Best Ride?
No.
Me? Oh.
No, Carter.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was going to. I was registered, but I got sick the weekend, or like the days leading up to the weekend, unfortunately. Yeah.
Okay. So you're gonna have to leave that one as a bucket list ride, because I've heard it is for Tyler and I too. We've had Jessica Sarah on the podcast.
Yeah, cool.
Banger. So I need to get down there at some point and pay respect to it and race it. It sounds amazing. And we kind of like, look at where Fernie is and we are where Whitefish is.
Yeah.
There's this cool little
Carter, that's like a local race for you.
Yeah. I know.
Really? Yeah.
Well, same goes for you. It'd be awesome to have both you guys out for the Fernie event and Cranbrook event, whatever comes next. So, yeah.
That'd be great.
We're close by. We'll try and do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks a lot for doing this, Carter. Appreciate it. Travel safe and keep the rubber side down and stay in touch, okay?
Yeah, appreciate it. You guys have a good one.
Thanks.
Nice to meet you, Carter. Keep up the good work.
Nice meeting you. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Talk to
Take
you
care,
later.
Bye.
Yeah.